John Barry it was, and the James Bond theme. And there's a show which is touring the country called the James Bond Concert Spectacular. And it's going to be compared by one of the Bond girls who joins me this afternoon, and that is Maddie Smith. Maddie, good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon. Hello. Yes,
Hello.
I'm doing some of them.
Yes.
And another Bond lady, Caroline Munro, is doing the other half. Isn't she, Warren?
She is.
Yeah, this is my lovely boss.
Yes, this is Warren Ringham, who's with us as well, who is the conductor, and we'll come to him in a moment. I want to talk to you very quickly about your part. You were Miss Caruso.
I was Miss Caruso, but originally just called Beautiful Girl. I was nameless.
Right, and that was in Live and Let Die, and it's interesting because when we threw it open to our listeners, which James Bond theme would they like to hear, that has been number one. That's the most popular one.
I am absolutely thrilled about that. I mean, I agree with them. I don't know whether Warren does, but I certainly agree with them. And I remember Roger Moore bringing along a little cassette player and playing it through to us, just a demo, what we call a demo disc now, and saying, what do you think of this? Isn't it fantastic? This is Wings, and this is your new Bond theme music. What do you say? And we just jumped up and down. Because, of course, I did my scene, my James Bond scene, actually really virtually at the end of filming. They'd already done all their location stuff and most of the stuff with Jane Seymour and so on, and all the New Orleans stuff and everything, and got to my little part. So this is sort of the winding down time, and time to get on with, the music for the show, or for the film, rather. I think I've got a show on the brain. Music for the film. And so he brought this demo disc, and we just thought, this is incredible. But then, of course, I am a Paul McCartney major fan, to say the least. I grew up with him. Yeah.
Let's talk about Roger for a minute, because what was he like when you worked with him? Oh,
wonderful. But I had worked with him before, David.
What did you do with him before?
What had I done with him? I didn't do anything naughty with him.
No, I didn't mean that.
I was in an episode of The Persuaders, which was an American telly series which was actually filmed at Pinewood. It was Roger Moore and Tony Curtis, two sort of spoof police guys, I guess you could say. And I was in one episode pretending to be somebody else, some silly plot. Anyway, he obviously liked me because he suggested me for the part in Live and Let Die.
Yeah.
I never even auditioned for it. So I already knew him and knew how lovely he was.
I met him a couple of times, and I found him very funny.
Yes.
He had a lovely sense of humour.
Yes.
And there was a quote of his where he said that, talking about his love scenes in the Bond movies, and he said, I had to apologise to all the ladies who found that I was somewhat aroused. He said, and then I also had to apologise to the ladies who found that I wasn't aroused.
Oh, no.
And I thought that was lovely.
I never heard that.
Lovely quote.
Oh, gosh, that's a wonderful quote. Well, he wouldn't have been particularly aroused when he was with me because his wife was at the bottom of the bed.
Well, it was a fantastic scene. And to remind us, it was the scene where he unzipped your dress.
Yes.
And he did it, allegedly, with a magnet.
Yes, no.
But no.
I first of all, I'm in bed, then I sneak into the cupboard, then he comes and lets me out of the cupboard, and I've got this horrible blue frock on, and he undoes the zip. Obviously, I turn round, and you see the zip being unzipped with his magic watch, but actually, it was the special effects chap, Derek Meddings, and you know the story, who was lying between my legs and pulling on the wire. I won't say yanking because this afternoon, but he was pulling on the wire, which I suppose was chicken wire or fish wire. I don't know what it was. And actually, if you freeze frame, you can just see the wire in shadow, somebody told me. Yes.
Oh,
so it wasn't magic, and that's very disappointing for a lot of people I know.
Well, that's the true story behind a very famous scene.
Yes.
Let's hear that theme that so many people have asked for, and then we'll have a chat with you and with Warren as well about the tour. It was brilliant, wasn't it? A brilliant theme, certainly one of the best and the most popular with our listeners this afternoon. It was Paul McCartney, Live and Let Die. Maddie Smith, who was the Bond girl, Miss Caruso in that film, is with us in the studio this afternoon, as is Warren Ringham. Now, Warren is the conductor for the show, the James Bond Concert Spectacular, which is coming to the King's Theatre Southsea on Sunday, March the 25th. Now, having a Bond girl introduce it, I gather, Warren, this is a new thing, but in fact, the band have been going for quite a while.
That's right. We've been going for 14 years now as a James Bond tribute band. It came about as I'm just a huge Bond fan and a professional musician myself. I'm a trumpet player. And I wanted to do something to take the music of Bond to the fans like myself. I wanted to create a show where like-minded Bond fans could come and see something that I knew that they'd want to see. So it's very much created with the Bond fan in mind. And we've been doing sort of 14 years of private shows all around the world. We've gone to places like Monte Carlo, the Maldives, Switzerland, Germany to do corporate events and private events. But it's been our videos that we've had on YouTube that have been so popular with Bond fans that we turned it into a theatre show about 4 or 5 years ago. And we've been gradually building that. And I was very, very excited. I was introduced to Maddie through a James Bond fan podcast called James Bond Radio. And I met Maddie through there. We became good friends, and Maddie kept coming along to our shows, and in the end we decided to team up and do something together along with Caroline Munro from The Spy Who Loved Me. The two lovely ladies going to be comparing our theatre tour this year.
So, Maddie, will you be telling little stories and anecdotes and things like that between the music?
David, yes, but this is actually not really the Maddie show. Yes and no. It is properly scripted. And so I have a script in front of me, and I'm telling the stories behind the films. But when it comes to Live and Let Die, Warren says that I should say some cheeky things like I just said to you, about the zip and so on. And
yes,
Mr. Middings under my toes. But basically sticking to the script because it's a long show, and this is a completely new departure for me. It's not Maddie telling theatrical stories. It's about they're called Cue the Music, by the way. The letter Q, not Kew Gardens, but the letter Cue the Music. Yeah. So I have I've got, and Warren has suggested to me that I have 2 copies of script, because the other day I stood away from the microphone and having had a little, shall we say, a soupçon of some lethal champagne cocktail, came back and accused him of missing a page. And
lovely.
Jumped ahead. So it does require a lot of concentration.
These things do happen.
Wow.
You're looking at the man who knows only too well. I assume that you won't be wearing that dress in the show.
No, and I don't know who's got it, and I want to know where it went. I believe it did tour for a while, that horrible frock.
Did it? Yeah, it probably did.
I think it did.
Yeah, it had a life of its own.
It did. Parts of it stood alone, as it were,
Yes,
without me being in it.
Yeah. Coming back to Warren for a second, how many piece band or orchestra is it? How big is it?
So we have 13 on stage at the moment. Some of the shows we occasionally go to a bigger band, and then we've got Maddie as well comparing. But it's basically what the show is. It's just about celebrating the love of James Bond. I think anybody that has any interest in the music of Bond, the actual films, or even if you've just got a love of music, it's a real celebration of all those things. And it's created with that in mind, and everybody that comes, I think, has an absolutely wonderful time. We've never ever had anything other than a 5-star review, so it's a really great show, and I hope people can come along.
Now, presumably, as well as the orchestra, you've got singers too, have you?
We've got 2 fantastic vocalists. Our female vocalist, Kerry Schultz, she's really well known amongst Bond fans around the world as just being a very passionate, talented singer that does those amazingly difficult covers, actually. I mean, to be able to do covers of all those incredible vocalists, from everyone from Shirley Bassey to Tina Turner and all those other ones in between, Adele, and it's a really tough gig to do, and Kerry's got the lungs to pull it off.
Shirley Bassey's vocal range for a start is challenging, isn't it? I mean, really had an enormous vocal range, Shirley Bassey.
Huge, but it's also the different styles, to be able to go from, and Kerry does it in her own way, but she does it with a nod to the singers as you go through them. You're not going to come and see a show where you're going to see someone in dressed up as Tom Jones in one song and then trying to be Louis Armstrong. It's not like that. It's not a tribute show in the kind of traditional sense. It's a tribute to the James Bond music genre. I think that's a better way to describe it.
And did you do a tribute show for Roger Moore? You did, didn't you?
Well, what we did, we were invited to perform at Roger Moore's memorial event, which was at Pinewood Studios in October. They had a very personal, very lovely event where they dedicated one of the stages there in his name. And it was a very small affair in terms of it was very close friends and family, but a lot of very high-profile names, people like Dame Joan Collins and Sir Michael Caine spoke as well. And we were invited to perform a couple of the Bond songs, which we were just incredibly honoured and privileged to do so.
Now, you've recorded, these are live recordings, are they, of the band?
Yeah, well, the recordings that you're going to play, they're actually from one of our shows that we recorded and mixed, so what people hear now is how we sound. If you come and see us, it's very much a snapshot of the show.
Excellent. Well, let's hear one of the tracks. Well, yes, round of applause indeed. Ken in Shirley said that was his favourite Bond theme. It was Thunderball, and the singer...
That was Matthew Walker.
Matthew Walker, with Cue the Music.
Yeah, Cue the Music is the name of the band. The name of the show is the James Bond Concert Spectacular, but we're probably best known as the band's name, which is Cue the Music.
Right. Now, you're doing a lot of these shows around the country, quite a few, certainly featuring Maddie, are on Sundays.
Yeah.
And is the next one the one in Southsea?
No, we've got one in Stoke and then we've got one in Gravesend, both which Maddie are doing.
Right.
And then the local one for your listeners is this one at Southsea on the 25th of March.
So you'll be very, very polished by the time you get to Southsea.
Oh, I'll be wonderful,
You won't
darling.
be skipping any pages at all.
Oh, gosh, that was naughty. Yeah, I actually skipped an entire chunk on the same page, which is even more unforgivable. There were 2 songs at the top, then a big chunk, which I missed out, and then 2 more songs at the bottom. I shall never forget the yellow markers.
I must say she was brilliant. And the thing is, as you can hear, she's got such a wonderfully lovely speaking voice as well. So it's poetry emotion when she speaks. So.
I think, I actually have this theory, I think people love it when things go wrong. It's a funny thing, but the audiences love it.
Except I didn't.
Yes. It's not so much fun when on stage, is it?
Disappear under the carpet. But apart from that, I'm sure it was wonderful.
It was brilliant.
Yes.
It's the old butterflies, isn't it? And the glaze over look when you think, hang on a second. I'll tell you the worst thing is when you can't remember what comes next.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That's it. And you think...
I then thought, where? What?
Yeah.
But the great thing is as well, though, I think for people that are coming and for me on stage as well, we're dealing with Bond royalty here. So, you know, it's just to be in the presence of someone that's been a huge part of what is such an amazingly incredible franchise, a series of films. It's just a real pleasure to be in the company of Maddie anyway.
Thank you. It brings the interesting thing is it brings the past to the present. Suddenly Miss Caruso is here and now. It's lovely.
Absolutely.
She's not bedded down anymore in the past.
No. Well, James Bond fans, plenty will be there. It's the 25th of March.
Yeah.
It's at the King's Theatre in Southsea.
Yeah.
Have you performed there before?
I have, David, in actual fact, yes, with Jenny Hanley's mummy. Lovely Dinah Sheridan. I was in a play, I'm trying to think, it must have been about 1972, I think, and Patrick Macnee was in it. I don't want to say anything unkind about Patrick Macnee. He was pleasant enough, but he never ever bothered to learn his lines. It was a bit tough on some of us. I know Dinah Sheridan wasn't very happy about it, but it was a lovely experience. I think, I think that theatre was then run by an admiral or something. I think he was called Admiral. He was a very eccentric chap. I think he wanted to show me various things. I think in the end we went to some castle together, he and I. It was very pleasant. It was totally innocent.
Yeah, of course.
It was it was very cosy at that time.
Yes. Well, it is.
I don't mean to be naughty.
It is a lovely theatre, isn't it?
It is absolutely gorgeous. And my friend Annie, who lives in Southsea, in Highland Terrace, tells me that it's been completely done up, rejuvenated, repainted, and a lot poured into it, I believe.
Bob, our producer, will know that. He lives in Pompey, so he'll know.
So he'll be a Pompey fan too.
Yes, it has been tarted up. I think they're always looking for more donations to kind of keep it going.
I'm sure
it's
they
so
are.
beautiful, that theatre. I remember particularly how lovely it was. I mean, even then, magnificent. Is it a Matcham theatre?
It is, yes.
Like Richmond Theatre, which is where I come from. Yep. Great.
There we are. So let me give you the details again. It's the James Bond Concert Spectacular with Cue the Music, and it's going to be hosted by Maddie Smith, who promises not to miss a page.
She'll try anyway.
But she will be there. Miss Caruso, if you're a James Bond film, be there or be square. And it's Sunday, March the 25th. Thank you both very much indeed for coming along.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
We're going to have another Bond theme now, and this has been requested. And actually, Bob the producer, this is your favourite Bond theme. Carly Simon. Nobody does it better.